Hey Virgo, let's jump right into your reading. We're looking at your current situation. It's the now or never. Welcome to my channel. I'm glad you're here. We're going to look at a planet first to get the overall energy of what is currently going on. Let's pull. North Node. Okay, something is pulling at you. Your soul, your higher self is tugging you, pulling you in one particular direction. I believe you're aware of that. To which degree, I'm not sure. Let's draw out of the Zen Tarot, just one card. I am reading upright in that deck. Let's see if that deck can give us the direction that your North Node is actually pulling you in. At least briefly show us. This one. Possibilities. This feels like you opening up to even just a thought of doing something different that you already are. I don't think you had measured and figured out, or at least even understood that something had potential. Something that you might have deemed, if for me to say it that way, it's like you deemed prior that it might have not been worth your time, that you felt it was not worth investing your energy into. It's like you're seeing it in a different light. It suddenly is taking on like more depth, or it just opened up for you, like it's suddenly possible, and it offers lots of possibilities, almost like ramifications as well, right? I'll give you a silly example. When I started drinking tea and I started getting really interested in tea, I couldn't believe how many different teas there exists, and like, I mean, it was like a whole world all in itself, right? I mean, it's just a silly example because it's not necessarily something that was pulling at me besides being an interest, right? North Node would be more than just an interest, although it starts with an interest. It also the North Node will actually take you on a journey, and it'll make you grow, and you will actually probably rediscover yourself, and through the whole experience and through doing what that interest was in the first place, you're actually gonna do it. So my example was just to show you, like, when you see something and you think it's just one small thing, and when you actually peek into it, it suddenly is much more vast than you thought. That's what I meant. We have the Hermit, the Nine of Wands, and the Magician. Possibilities galore with the Magician. You're on a path to realizing a higher degree of independence, a higher degree of you're gonna find it funny, but it's like it's being independent, but it's also being interdependent. And by that, I don't mean codependent. I mean relying on participating and networking. I say that because the two major arcanas are looking in two different directions. So you are on a path, you are on a journey with the North Node. But by looking in one direction, which is opposite of the magician, and for me on the table, it's like looking back. So it's like kind of saying this energy is in the past of being isolated or walking alone. So I'm feeling with the magician that has all these elements being brought, and he's looking in the other direction, and suddenly that's the future and the progress and being progressive. And so that's where the interdependence comes in, right? You're not just alone anymore and independent. You still are independent, because I think you're autonomous, maybe is the best word, but you do so in a fashion where you're actually, I want to say, tapping into different possibilities and other people's potentials, and the sum of all of that the Nine of Wands energy squeezed in between these two majors. It's like here is almost, it's a part of being healed, or at least being, something is being, I'm not too sure how to say this, because I don't want to say that you're going to stay in that state. But there is a possibility that you'll never forget the way you used to be or behave prior, right? Those are kind of acquired lessons, but you do bring them in. So without being like a baggage that impedes you, I believe it's something that propels you, or at least stabilizes and creates a different perspective in terms of what you see as possible. And it might have to do with this example I gave about having a limited window, or at least thinking that something is smaller than what it really was. And it might have been your mindset prior. So that would have been something that you were working with, and that you might still have as a Virgo, wanting to like stick to details, and like maybe being a little too sort of like, how do you say, with the horses that have the blinders, right? Yeah, the blinders. That's how you call them. So you might still be someone that has like, in terms of your attention and where you put your energy, you work in almost like a funnel, not a funnel, but at least like some sort of tunnel, like a little bit silo type. Not that you wouldn't be able to multitask. I'm sure there's like plenty of Virgos that know how to multitask, but maybe it has to do with what you're interested in. Like maybe you kind of like stick to one thing at a time. But I think you would really open up your mind. I think that's why you're being pulled, right? I said you're being pulled with the North Node. Something is tugging at you to change that. Almost like saying, knock, knock, you know, like, there's all of this going on, take a look, you know, you might be interested, something like that. It's like that's the universe doing that. And that's why you start dabbling. This is why you're starting to try out. The magician is hands-on. He's working with the elements. He's right there. He also studies. Oh no, they fell on the floor. So then I don't know how they came out, whether that's, I'm so sorry, let me pick them up. Oh, that's like, how am I gonna do this? Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put them back. I barely looked at them. It's not even relevant. I would like to respect that I wasn't able to catch them before they fell. I'm so sorry. That rarely happens, but it did. So let's start anew. Okay, what flipped? Okay, this is really strange. You have the Three of Swords coupled with the Ten of Cups. So it's like, how can you be sad in love and yet the most happy in love all at once, right? The Three of Swords came out on the side of the Hermit, so maybe being alone in the past and being sort of narrow-minded about how things, the possibilities that you had prior, or the absence of possibilities maybe, or just something that didn't work out, of course. And then with the Magician, then this changes and you become really, really happy when you open yourself up. Maybe it has to do with really listening to what is pulling at you, what is really asking you to grow, which kind of relationship is asking you to grow the most. Apologies, my cat. In terms of a North Node journey, it's interesting because I thought your interest would be somewhat not related to love, and then these new cards came out, right? I'm wondering if your path is linked to a relationship, or at least resolving something within your relationships, right? Sort of, if I go back to the Nine of Wands and this energy of learning how to remove those blinders, coming in with less of a rigid or closed-minded, I guess, mindset. Because there's huge potential for you to find a beautiful, committed relationship that lasts, of course, but that really fulfills you deeply. If it's not, let's say, romantic love, it really has to do with leaving behind something that you didn't really particularly enjoy to finally find something that you did. And the energies are like Hermit, Three of Swords, I guess, versus, you know, Magician, Ten of Cups. All of it hinges on opening yourself up with the Nine of Wands. This reading is just really calling you out, quote unquote. I mean, calling you with the North Node and yet kind of calling you out. It's funny. Calling you out on, I guess, narrow-mindedness, more than anything. I'm going to draw a card on the Magician. I want to see how you perform, or I'm going to say it this way. What are you manipulating? Not that you would be manipulating people or things like that, but almost like, how are you applying your energy? Like, where are you going with this? Even if it pertains to maybe love, relationships in general, how are you really doing it? What is the avenue? Also, by being the Magician, there's the 4 elements. So depending on the suit that comes out, it'll be the strongest, right? It'll be the one that you... There's 2 cards that came out. That's so funny. We have 5 of Wands and the Lovers. So again, it's more of the love thing. Apologies. It's more of the love thing. It's about struggling in love. It's about competition in love. I wouldn't, okay, maybe not real competition against other suitors, or it's like having a struggle in love. Maybe because you didn't feel so worthy in the past. Maybe because you had past hurts. Maybe because you think you're always going to be alone. That's the mindset that you have or had. So the way you're choosing to, I guess the avenue you're taking to actually get to love, get to the Lovers, it's a little bit, how do we say? It's almost like you're gonna practice a sport because you're gonna have to do some training, sparring. You will have to measure yourself against others, I think. So there is a little bit of competition. It's there on the table. And yet again, it could be a multitude of possibilities that you need to choose from again. So you're never really... It's funny because maybe before you were not seeing the possibilities, and then when you arrive at the realm of possibilities, you might have the opposite dilemma of, now which one do I choose, right? And that might be a hurdle, or just become more difficult than you anticipated. Because the Lover's card ultimately is always about choice. And so you might be faced with more than one choice. Let's draw a trinket. Sorry for the noise. It'll have been a noisy reading with my cat acting out. Okay, you get the beacon, the lighthouse if you want. Sorry. That's the North Node energy. That's the only thing that's the basically North Node, the true North. Something really calling you, pulling at you. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. It's funny because I did mention that you had some sort of way of thinking that had blinders on, that you had sort of a tunnel vision that you needed to sort of break away from. So you're still being placed, if you want, in a position where you need to follow the light that you see through that tunnel. But maybe that's interesting. Maybe you have to travel towards these possibilities through a tunnel, which is like this clear, lonely path that also has a lantern. So there's something there for you that you're actually being called towards. And yet once you get there, at least right at the tip of the end of that tunnel, suddenly it's like all this light and all these possibilities and all this huge horizon opening up. And then you're in a different position where you have so many things to work with. So it could be in love because of, you know, the 3 of Swords with the 10 of Cups and the Lovers, of course. But if you want, you could apply it to something else. It depends. Maybe your love of tea, just like me. I'm kidding. Anyways, I'm going to leave the reading here. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you soon.